And I know we got a guest just came in, Mr. Porter, with Memphis Allies. Again, I want to send our thoughts and prayers out to Memphis Allies. I know that you all had an incident there. So if you could just say something about your organization and your role.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairman Caswell, and thank you all. We appreciate it. So Javante Porter, Director of Community Relations and External Affairs for Memphis Allies. Just continue to be praying for our staff. I think what we witnessed, what we saw was unprecedented, but more importantly, it wasn't like it wasn't a risk to begin with. We understood the work we were getting ourselves into. Our staff understood the work that they were getting themselves into. And we see a building, right, that's brick and mortar. But every single day, our staff is vulnerable because they're out there in those communities doing the exact same work that takes place inside that site. So I commend the community, how they've supported us. They've rallied behind us. And what it does not do, it does not deter us from the work. We've had several group counseling sessions for staff, and just to see the commitment, the motivation, the level of resilience is at an all-time high, and you wouldn't expect that. So I just appreciate that. Thank you, and looking forward to supporting all parties involved as I can.
So if you can say the communities that Memphis Allies is in right now and some of the work that the communities y'all in.
So currently, right now as we speak, we serve 5 regions across our Switch adult program, which supports individuals ages 18 to 35. That is our Whitehaven neighborhood, our Orange Mound, Hickory Hill, East Memphis, Parkway Village, Raleigh and Fraser, and South Memphis. Switch Youth, which is 18 and under, serves across citywide, all of Memphis and Shelby County. So there is no jurisdiction that prohibits our team from supporting youth who are enrolled in our program. So in essence, we are a citywide initiative, but as we ramp up and continue to scale our adult services, we will then include more of those regions to support. But right now, our youth aspect is citywide, and adult is region-based, and we're in 5 regions.
And before you came, I know Director spoke about some of the cuts that's coming down from the federal level, state level. When we look at the impact of those cuts, I know I had this conversation with Devin Lane, even with 901 Block, right, that talks about what we don't see, that credible messengers, when they show up at these scenes, it don't become data because it was mitigated. Like, could you talk about like what that looks like? Because again, the intervention works. I know it, I saw it work around some of this work, but we could be looking at a lot more, right? And
Absolutely.
If you could just speak to some of that.
I mean, what I would say in essence that he's absolutely right. What you see happen in real time oftentimes does not make its way into a CRM system, what we call our client relationship management or our data system. However, our outreach team are trained quarterly to make sure you are documenting that and you are overly documenting that so we can capture some of those events. Whether the situation is mitigated or not, whether the retaliation level is reduced or not, there has to be some kind of way that we're able to look back and to say, hey, we see this as a hot spot. We see this as a potential for an individual to retaliate. What do? We cannot do that without the data. And so we do continue to train our staff to make sure when you leave the scene, you're able to put that in. They're also able to utilize their phones because it's mobile friendly as well. So even if you're not in the midst of having that conversation presently, once you retreat back to your car or once you leave the scene or go somewhere else separately, you're able to put that in. But documentation is key. And unfortunately, because of those instincts happen, we have to get better at training staff, specifically credible messengers, outreach workers, intervention workers, on how to be able to document that so we can attract more funding to support organizations and specifically to support that aspect of programming for not just, intervention work, but prevention work as well.
And I know we have our guest too that came and speaking about domestic violence, and I'm gonna get you off the hot sheet, but just to that point, what do that look like even with some of the intervention work that you're doing? Is this brothers against brothers and family against family, or this just street violence, individuals that you are seeing most in a lot of research? I
mean, from experience, and I think, our joint office hit it on the nail, there are a lot of root causes that are playing into what we see happening. Specifically, there is no, we've saw in-gang rivalry, right? So it's far beyond what we've seen traditionally, where you have gangs against gangs and cliques against cliques. We got brothers who are in the same clique, same gang, beefing. And so that does speak to just the mentality of what we're dealing with today. I was at the FY2026 meeting last night, and one of the things that came up was about the parents, how we get parents more involved. And my argument to that, and I wasn't opposing it, right? I do believe that we do have to figure out a way to get parents engaged, but what we did not pay attention to is that we have younger parents. We have moms who are 34, 35. Their children are 21, 19. Their kids are now 1 and 2. And so when you take that into consideration, the mentality of the youth who are now growing up in our city is shifting. We're more in survival mode. And so what we once saw as a family or as a unit or as a conglomerate is now beginning to isolate ourselves. So it's every man for themselves at this point. So to your point, Commissioner Caswell, you're absolutely right. It is not just rivalry gangs. It's also in-gang rivalry where there is brother-on-brother crime. And we see that amongst our race as African Americans more today than we have in history's time. So, yeah.
And I think that lies to the need for more real conversations around domestic violence at home. So it just, the work that we've done for years, I've done really around ACEs and trauma, is when you talk about domestic violence, children witnessing that, they do what they see. And so really, and I say that because I got a call from a mama earlier today. I was telling the lady on my way to the meeting, and she had a son there with her. And because I think Judge Sugarman told him to reach out to me, and she said, "You gonna talk to this man?" He said, "I don't want to talk to him." She said, "If it weren't for him, you wouldn't have diapers on." She said, "I would have bought," because she was in my teen pregnancy program 15 years ago. And when she told me who she was, and one of the things I remember, her mama, when I assessed her, Commissioner Wright, said, "She gonna be all right because I'm all right." And I had her when I was 15. And I remember the assessment. I said, "Mama, you on Section 8. You don't have a house. You looking for a house, don't have housing. You don't have a job. This is not all right." And so we're looking at generational. Now, that 15-year-old son now is giving them that trauma that was, laid on them. So we know it's deep-rooted, and it's going to take, a lot of us collectively doing this work together to mitigate some of this. But this is what they norm has become, that this domestic violence lies there. And so we got a lot of work to do there. Commissioner Wright, I guess, anybody got anything before we wrap up here? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, I just thank you, Chair Caswell, for continuing to bring these really important topics to the front and bringing in these extremely qualified guests to help us and identify. We know that there's a lot of need, but we need to start. This committee's purpose is to connect that need to the resources. Yeah. And so I do commend you for continuing to introduce us to these programs that will help.
Yeah. And we'll look at, even as we talk about budget on both sides of the streets, and I said this, is that when we know these cuts are coming from the federal level and the state level, how do we still maintain this type of work here locally, because it's going to have an impact. Had a meeting with some people from the zoo to talk about the impact on tourism, right? That people not coming, and how it impacts a whole cycle if we don't correct some of the violence and things that we're seeing in our city. People don't feel safe coming here. So again, thank you all for being a part. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your information. Make sure you send that to that PowerPoint. We're going to have it to all of our commissioners to send it out, and we'll send it out to our committee here. Our next meeting will be set for May the 29th. And I know, Commissioner Wright, as we were talking about some of the reentry stuff, we want to look deeper into how do one-stop shop look like? And maybe even as you all creating that ecosystem, we got to have that. I mean, it really need to be when they walk out of the jail, can we give them a voucher to go right across the street and get an ID? Like that's a start. And just those things keep you from not being able to get a job or get things done that you need. So it's just things I think that we need to really look at, and then how do we make that connection happen as we go into budget to see those connections, right? So May the 29th will be our next meeting that we have coming up. That'll be at 1:30. and we'll make sure we get that information out to you all. I just want to say too, on May the 1st, a group of pastors and leaders, we're going to be coming together at the Pursuit of God Church around, I know you're going to be at a day of prayer. We're going to start at 10 o'clock, National Day of Prayer, but what we're doing, we're busing in students from different Fraser, Raleigh, and surrounding schools to the Pursuit of God Church at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, not only just for prayer with those students in that community, but we're going to have leaders that's going to talk about how they're going to open up their churches this summer and activate them for athletic leagues and different things, volleyball for the young ladies, basketball for the young men. They're going to be there. We're going to have QR codes there for the students to take back to the schools with them so that kids can sign up for some of these identified programs. So that's May the 1st. That's at 3759 North Watkins at the Pursuit of God Church. And that's part of the National Day of Prayer, but we're going to unify with our 7P partners to come together to make that, bring that to pass. Also, and I just put that out there, I know that we're going to be doing something for service provider May the 3rd. So many of our service providers for the kingdom from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock are going to provide a day of just massage, counseling, supports. We know, again, with leaders like our lives, people that put their life on there, a lot of our pastors, even after the death of Pastor Floyd, we went right back to work, right? We went right back to serving our community, but they have not dealt with grief ourselves. And so that is going to be provided at for the kingdom. They're going to be opening their doors, bringing in massage therapists and people to kind of support service providers that day, 4100 Raleigh Military Road.
So, Chair Caswell, who is organizing that?
So myself and Commissioner, what's her name? Love, State Representative Parkinson, Councilwoman Logan, Councilwoman Michael Easter Thomas, Commissioner Lowry is going to support, and we're asking the community and others. We like to get more massage people there, but we really wanted to do something to just reach out to the community. And especially in the north side, a lot of those was very connected to Floyd and connected, and I was getting the calls. And then you talk about the pastor who lost 3 nephews and nieces just the other day in Fraser. He's from Raleigh. And so it's just a lot. So we just wanted to offer that day for them, their services. 4100 Raleigh Military Road at For the Kingdom, May the 3rd. So. All right. Any other announcements that anybody have? I know y'all got the breakthrough.
Yeah, so next week, the time is here. It's been months of planning, but it's our 3rd annual Breakthrough Conference, April 29th, April 30th at the Hilton Hotel. We are actively sold out, but we would love to include you. Please let me know if you would like to be there, but looking forward to seeing all of you.
Sold out? What we're going to have to do, stand at the door?
I got some extra seating room I can get you.
Your office got anything? Y'all good?
I do, Chair Caswell. Just a couple updates on grants. You mentioned reentry. I work with some grants and do some assistance with grant applications. I believe Director Brown did have a grant that was in the neighborhood of $1 million or 1.2 that did get officially or essentially canceled yesterday. He would be the authority on that, but it was dedicated to, I think, job training and housing. And I think it got pulled yesterday. The Aging Commission has $400,000 that is on the chopping block for this next year that's dedicated towards protecting elder abuse cases. They've got a funding stream for that. It looks like they won't have it next year, $400,000. Unfortunately, we're expecting more cuts. Anything with CVI work, reentry, juvenile justice seems to be on the table. So just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
I mean, that's a blow there. And I just say, when you look at the fact that these cuts is, are you all looking at too how that impacts so that we can, whether we have a conversation at the state or get our lobbyists who are working in DC around making sure that people in Congress and the House know the effect that it's having us locally? Is it something that you can provide us with?
That is exactly, I think, what Director Bromley's been doing this week, probably as we speak, trying to figure out how to, figure out some of these shortcomings. Their staff, Crime Victim and Rape Crisis Center, I believe, has one that involves staff that is immediately being cut, and she's having to figure that out pretty quickly, what to do with staff that are scheduled to be basically let go. So, yeah, she is doing a lot of that work right now.
Director Matters, I know the CVI team and intervention groups have received an email from you as well in regards to how we can combat that. Did you want to provide any advice? Because I know you said some grants are now being reconsidered based off the information that they had sent up.
So what I've tried to do.
And I'm sorry, Director, I apologize to all y'all, because I meant to tell y'all before you speak to say your name just
That's
for the
right.
minute.
That's right. Valerie Matthews, Joint Office. So I did immediately send out an email to our ecosystem partners to first of all try to gauge who had received notification that funding would be lost and to provide some possible resources. The Vera Institute is one that I did share that they are offering some free legal services and support for those who wish to pursue legal action. There's also information in that correspondence about just rallying together, how we can be vocal about the cuts, especially in the community violence intervention space. And there's also a process for appeal, and the Vera Institute was successful in at least getting their $5 million cut considered, but they have not got the funding back yet, but they got a consideration. And so fingers are crossed for those types of things. So I'm continuing to share that information with everyone that's in the Joint Office ecosystem, just to keep everyone updated, because if you didn't receive notification yesterday, we have people who received notification today, and we anticipate that there will possibly be more to come, unfortunately.
So to that point, I think we need to know so the public can know, because if no one is going to say nothing about it, they just going to take it, right? You got to, they need to know that there is a issue with this impact that it's going to have on us as a community. So again, as y'all can share that information, we can then, like I said, whether bring a resolution to this body and then send it up to our lobbying bodies at the federal and state level so that they can begin to be our voice there, right, around what we know going to have an impact on us here in Shelby County, because we know we cannot put all the burden back on the taxpayers to take care of all of these needs. And we cannot, as a county, just say we're not going to do nothing about it, right? If we just leave those families and leave this situation like it is, we see the impact that it's going to have on us. So, all right, Ms. Marcy, you got anything as we wrap it up? Well, thank you all again for coming out. Thank you, Commissioner Wright, for being here and helping us get this meeting convened. Thank you, sister, for doing it. You got any closing remarks?
More than welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all get my information. Okay.
All right.
Make sure y'all contact me
Yes, ma'am.
so we can work together.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Meeting adjourned.